You've probably heard the thought experiment where a penny doubles every day for 30 days. It's the standard example used to explain compounding, but it assumes a 100% daily return. In the real world, that rate of return is a mathematical fantasy. Actual stock market returns average between 7 and 10% a year before inflation. After adjusting for inflation, that yield settles closer to 6 or 7%. At low starting balances, a 7% growth rate is essentially invisible. This creates a flat reality for early investors that often goes unmentioned in personal finance circles. This chart shows the standard 30-year compounding curve. It starts flat and curves upward into a mountain of money. But notice the empty gap between year 1 and year 30. These charts rarely label where an investor actually sits on the timeline. By skipping to the end state, this model obscures the most important phase of wealth building. It hides the years where the investor provides all the labor. To understand the true mechanics of growth, we have to calculate the exact moment the math shifts in your favor. To ground this in real numbers, meet Lisa. She earns $52,000 a year and sets up an automatic transfer of $500 a month into a market index fund, averaging an 8% annual return. Lisa executes the strategy perfectly. She avoids gimmicks, skips unnecessary trips, and consistently invests nearly 15% of her take-home pay. Despite her discipline, her initial results will feel economically insulting. For the next several years, she will be trapped in the linear accumulation phase. In year 1, Lisa physically inputs $6,000. The market yield on that capital is a mere $225. That contribution represents only 3.6% of her total portfolio. She earned $225 for an entire year of strict discipline, roughly $18 a month. By year 2, her balance is $13,000, but $12,000 consists of her physical deposits. After 5 years, her portfolio reaches $36,738. The ratio is stark. 82% came from physical deposits, while only 18% came from market yield. This is the psychological friction that breaks most investors. They experience flat years where their discipline feels useless because geometric scaling is severely constrained by an inadequate capital base. Beneath the surface, the math is slowly changing. The 8% return rate remains constant, but it is now acting on a larger base. 8% of $6,000 is pocket change. 8% of $36,000 is a meaningful sum. We can map this progress to find the crossover point, the specific year when the market's annual yield permanently surpasses the investor's annual manual contribution. For Lisa, that crossover hits at year 10. Her portfolio has reached $91,473. That year, the market added $6,758 to her account. For the first time, her money outworked her $6,000 manual deposit. This mathematical threshold provides the logic behind Charlie Munger's famous observation that the first $100,000 is the hardest. At this crossover, the economic engine of her wealth permanently shifts. Labor is no longer pushing the boulder. The capital base is now heavy enough to roll on its own. Growth accelerates rapidly once the crossover is cleared. By year 15, the portfolio yields $13,800 a year, more than double Lisa's manual input. By year 20, the portfolio total reaches $294,510. This year marks a major milestone. 59% of her wealth was generated internally by the portfolio. By year 30, the total portfolio hits $745,180. 76% of her wealth now comes strictly from compounding.
This geometric dominance is the end state the financial industry advertises, but it requires surviving the first 10 flat years uninterrupted. The linear accumulation phase is highly vulnerable to disruption. Real-life emergencies often force investors to drain their base before the math can take over. If Lisa is forced to withdraw $8,000 at year 4 to cover an emergency, the impact on her long-term trajectory is devastating. This single withdrawal delays her crossover point from year 10 to year 11. She effectively reset the clock on her compounding base. By year 20, that $8,000 reset has cost her $29,000 in lost growth. By year 30, the total loss exceeds $63,000. This mathematical reset explains why Federal Reserve data shows that half of American households approaching retirement have less than $185,000 saved. They invested for decades, but frequent disruptions kept them on the flat part of the curve. Withdrawing capital pre-crossover truncates the base when it is most sensitive, silently destroying future wealth by resetting the geometric scaling. Below the crossover threshold, the absolute number of dollars you input is more significant than optimizing your percentage yield. If Lisa increases her monthly contribution from $500 to $700, her trajectory changes completely. At year 20, the $500 baseline reaches $294,000, while the $700 model hits $412,000. That $200 increase created a $117,000 gap in final wealth. During the linear phase, scaling human capital is a mathematically superior lever to yield optimization. Investors must earn their way across the gap until the portfolio takes over. Compounding is heavily asymmetrical. It strictly rewards those who have already accumulated mass. The larger the base, the harder the math works for the owner. For this reason, return on investment percentages are largely irrelevant during the first decade. Using them to measure success early on is often demoralizing and distracts from the actual goal of this phase. The correct early metrics to track are savings rate, absolute net worth, and the distance remaining to the crossover point. Reaching milestones like $10,000 or $50,000 matters because every dollar stacked closes the gap to where compounding becomes visible. An emergency fund serves as load-bearing infrastructure. This cash buffer functions as a wall that keeps the investment base intact during a crisis. Having 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash protects the compounding base from catastrophic resets. This boring asset is what keeps the math working when the portfolio is most vulnerable. The early flat years represent the mandatory process of constructing a runway. A plane requires a completed stretch of pavement before it can finally leave the ground.